Hey guys, Nathan Duck River Honey. As you can see, it's been a sweat equity week. I've gotten, I don't know, somewhere around 1,000 frames assembled. I've got probably 1,500 more to go. I'm going to try to start doing weekly updates and release the videos on Fridays, separate from other videos that'll release over the weekend. I know that kind of, crunches them together a little bit, but looking at the analytics, most of my viewers are active on Friday through Monday, so it makes sense to me to put the videos out when people are actually looking at them. So I'm trying to document my process on what I'm doing, what I'm thinking. I'm putting together a plan to scale, and did an interview series with Bob Benny on scaling to full-time beekeeping. So I'm just going to try to document my thoughts and the work and how I'm planning and going about this. Obviously, woodenware is a big deal, and I've waited too long on my boxes and bottom boards and top lids. I'm using Midway B Supply in Etheridge, Tennessee. It's I believe it's Albert Zook. He's an Amish supplier. I use him for a lot of woodenware. He's got cypress stuff. It's a very good price, and it's put together well. If anybody is in Middle Tennessee, you can drive down. If you're not in Middle Tennessee, you need to look up his address and mail him a letter. He does not do email. He does not have a phone. So you correspond by mail. Mail him a letter, tell him what you want. He'll mail you a letter back, tell you how much it'll be and how long it'll be. Then he'll send you a letter when it's ready. So he's getting into his busy season. I went down last weekend and put my order in, and I mean, it's already out till potentially mid-April before it'll come in. So that's kind of set me on my heels a little bit. So I did a fill-in order with Man Lake. I've got 100 boxes that should be delivered today. And with these 1,000 frames to put in them, that should get me through March and into April. I'll probably, depending on weather, of course, I'll try to do a round of splits in March, and then I've got some virgins coming from Corey Stevens, which I would assume would be in April, just because he's a little north of me. His season will probably start a little bit later. So probably get a couple of rounds of splits and then go into the honey flow. If this big order of equipment comes in April, it's going to be a crunch to get it all done and get it wax dipped and into service. So, but I've got this big run of frames done. I'll get the boxes assembled for them next week. I'm not putting foundations in these yet because I have a terrible time with dirt daubers building on the foundations, and the bees won't draw it out. It's a pain to clean that stuff off too. Hot water and a scrub brush won't clean it off completely. I think a pressure washer would, but it's just a real pain. All right, so Bob Benny in the series that I did with him was talking about sweat equity. I've got some sweat equity in these frames. I wanted to run through some numbers. I looked at Man Lake's website, and they are charging $3.05 for assembled frames with foundations already installed. I paid right at $1.23 for the unassembled frames, and basically $1.31 for the foundations, and that's put me into them at about $2.54 per frame. So it pays me 51 cents per frame to assemble them and install the foundations. I am averaging about 120, 130 frames per hour. Getting them assembled, so that works out to an hourly wage of $61.20. I wish I had a high school kid that I could pay to do that, because I could split it with them, but I don't, so I'm doing it all myself. This is very weather dependent for me. I don't have a heated shop, and Type Bond 3, you can't use it below 47 degrees Fahrenheit, so I had weather this week to knock some of this out, and I just got it knocked out in a couple of days. I got tired of it though. I work best sort of bouncing around from one thing to another. I'll do a chunk of work here and then a chunk of work over there, and I don't get so bored. Spending a lot of time at the bench assembling this stuff gets boring. So I've still got to install foundations in these, so I've got a little bit more labor to go. And then, of course, I've got 6 staples and some glue in each one. The staples are 4 cents, something like that. So it's worth it to assemble your own if you've got the time and the equipment to do it. It definitely pays out. So what else is going on? I'm hoping to finally get the honey house septic line installed this week. I've got a guy contracted to do that, and he's had to cancel on me 3 times now, twice because of weather and once because his wife had an accident. So hopefully we're going to get that done this weekend. And then I went ahead and got the FRP panels for the ceiling and walls in the honey house. And I'll probably try to shoot the honey house update video before I close the walls in. So if you guys have got any questions you want me to answer on the honey house specifically, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to cover those in that video. So expansion planning, I was coming into this year thinking I would try to double, go from 40 hives to 40 to, 60 to 80, and make a honey crop. I've been doubling every year, and that's doable with my full-time job and all this. And of course I've been laid off, and I'm trying to scale faster. So after talking to Bob Benny, he said it's pretty doable to triple every year if you're smart about it and want to work hard. So that's sort of where I'm setting my goal this year. I'm trying to go from 40 to 120 to 150 and then reassess. And you work backwards from that. I need 2 to 3 mediums for my brood boxes. I'm an all medium beekeeper. I'm not going to change that. And then Bob said that he counts on 2.5 mediums for honey supers per production colony. But he's got a crew, he's got a big building, he's got a cow and 60, so he can move through his operation faster than I can. I think I'm probably going to need to allocate more honey supers to production colonies just because I won't be able to churn through and extract and then put wet supers back on the hives. So thinking about all that sort of stuff. I want to thank Jim Hartman at Secret Garden Bees. He has given me some business advice, some tips on insurances and grants that I can apply for and mentorship programs and all this stuff. It's incredibly useful and helpful information. I'm amazed that he took the time to put all that down and send it to me. I really appreciate that. And also, Nancy Knowlton, you are a blessing. I really do appreciate you. I can't say that enough. I really do. I'd like to start doing a question and answer every week. So I've got a question here from B Bob, and that's his handle or username. And this was on one of the videos I did with Bob Benny recently. He said, "Great discussion. One thing that seemed to be left out, unless I missed it, is finding locations to keep the hives. Where I live, any location is snatched up. Either people don't want them or try to contract me into giving them the hives if I decide to leave. Yep, I actually had someone try that. Be careful with your agreements with landowners." So I think my situation is a little different than some people. Like if you're in North Dakota or South Florida or somewhere where there's a lot of commercial beekeepers, I think a lot of those yards are very competitive and people have long-term agreements with the same people. And that's hard to break into. You don't want to, I don't want to step on anybody's toes and make, enemies. So where I live, there's not a lot of commercial beekeepers. It's mostly hobbyists and backyard beekeepers. And so my situation is a little different because there's not much competition for bee yards. And there's also no row crop agriculture. Well, there is, but it's corn and soybeans, and it's in the river bottoms. And we've got so much ground that's up on the ridge tops, and it's just hardwood trees. Like that's its highest and best use is hardwood forest. And that's where most of our honey comes from, is tulip poplar, black locust, sourwood sumac. It's all hardwood trees. So I think it's less competitive when you're talking to people that own timberland. because it's not as intensive and there's not as much competition. So what I'm doing is I'm using an app on my phone. So what I'm doing to find potential bee yards is I'm using the Bee Plus app on my phone. It's got a mapping feature, and you can put an apiary location in, and it will draw a forage area around that. It'll draw a 1 or 2 mile circle, 1.5 mile, whatever you want it to be, and it allows you to look at the map and say, okay, well, this would have good access, and it would be far enough away from my other yard. And then I go to the property records, the property tax assessor's website, and just find landowners in that area, and then contact them. So if I don't know somebody that knows them, I found one in the last week. It's a big timber tract, and it's owned by a doctor. So I sent him a priority mail box with a bottle of honey in it, with a business card in it, and with a nice letter. And, that's a professional package, and I tried to have it come through the letter and everything that I'm a legitimate person, I'm trustworthy, and I'm not going to hurt anything or steal anything or anything like that. So he called me, and I was driving my kids home from school. I've got bad reception, so it went to voicemail. And he was very nice, but he declined, said he couldn't really have people going in and out of the property. It's got a gate on it and stuff. And I understand that. So I got home and I thought about it, and I called him back. And I thanked him for calling me and asked if he knew of any other landowners, maybe some of his neighbors that would be interested. And I got to talking to him more and more about it and explain more about what I need and what kind of spot I can put bees in. And he finally said, I own a little strip of property close to the road outside of my locked gate. Do you think you could squeeze your hives in there? And I went and looked at it, and I said, I absolutely think I can squeeze my hives in there. So, I don't know if that will help anybody or not, but I'm going to be setting a bee yard up in the next couple of weeks on a piece of ground that was a no. So I think it helps to present yourself well and be respectful and kind and trustworthy, and then just look for opportunities, and I think they will come up. So I'm going to meet another guy today on a piece of property, and again, I just knew somebody that knew him, got his phone number, called him, and I'm going out to meet him. And I'm just telling them that the rent payment is a case of quartz a year, basically 36 pounds of honey a year. And if they're interested in that, then they're interested. And if they're not, they're not. So one more thing on bee yards. The yard I'm going to look at today is about 1.2 miles away from my home yard, which makes it a honey production yard and a drone production yard. So will now have 2 yards within 1.3 miles of my home yard, and I'm looking for at least 1 more and maybe 2 more because I've got to mate a bunch of queens this year, and I need a bunch of drones to get good mating on a bunch of queens. That's something that scale is, you have to think about that when you're scaling. So I've got to get a bunch of strong hives into these drone production yards early in the spring so that I can make queens. So videos I've got upcoming this weekend, Saturday, I'll post the 3rd in the Building a Full-Time Bee Business series with Bob Benny. That'll be the last of that series. And then Sunday, I'll post a video with Bob on which bees a beginner beekeeper should get. It's a good discussion. I think a lot of beginners should look at that before they get their first bees. I think most of them probably won't, but if you guys have got a bee club with beginners, recommend it. I think it'll be a good education for them. And then next weekend, I'll try to do another update video on Friday. I've got one more video with Bob on testing for Varroa. I've got this hypothesis that testing for Varroa is going to be the key to the path forward, which is host resistance. So we discussed that a bit. It's an interesting video to me. I don't know if anybody else will like it or not, but I kind of nerd out on that stuff. And then I may get the honey house video done in the next week and post it on Sunday next weekend. We'll see. I've got a lot going on, so I'll try to find the time to do that. I want to start answering a question or two every week. So if you guys want to send me an email, just send it to info@duckriverhoney.com. You can also comment on this video, and I'll try to find that comment and print it and answer it on air. So appreciate it, guys. If you got any questions, let me know. See you on the next one.